Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we are discussing the time Abaddon the Despoiler faced Kharn the Betrayer. Spoiler warning to begin, as the events we're discussing today are from the short story Court of Daemons by author Chris Dows. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. As always, I really recommend you read the stories for yourself first, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself, without spoilers. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Now, when it comes to legendary names of the traitor legions, I think you'd be hard pressed to find two more standout names than these guys: Abaddon the Despoiler and Kharn the Betrayer. These two were legends in their own right before even the days of the heresy. Within the Great Crusade, these two exemplified the combat prowess of the legionaries. Abaddon of the Lunar Wolves, Kharn of the World Eaters. No two were more feared in combat, save perhaps the Son of Dawn Sigismund. And when the darkness of the heresy came, they became iconic names of the War Master's betrayal, shedding the blood of countless loyal sons. 10,000 years down the line, and these same figures still stand above most of their fellow contemporaries. Names that instill fear at the merest whisper within any system of the Imperium. And yet, for all their iconic status as traitor Astartes, the two have, in a manner, drawn blades against each other before. The egos of champions butting face to face, with, well, very surprising results. Now, during the 13th Black Crusade, Kharn, as is his fate as champion of the Blood God, was led to the ecclesiarchy world of Salandraxis. And here, as the World Eaters and Black Legion assaulted the planet, Kharn pursued his personal quarry of claiming the head of a living saint. This isn't the only time we've seen Kharn the Betrayer go up against one of the Emperor's saints, and so it certainly appears the Blood God is directing his champion to face these warriors of the Emperor, wherever they may appear across the galaxy. The ultimate clash of champions, I guess. No better duel for the Blood God to savour. Within the novel Shroud of Night, we saw Kharn the Betrayer go up against the living saint Celestine, and spoiler warning here, he won. And it was within the events of Court of Daemons, upon the world of Salandraxis, he would seek to claim the skull of a living saint named Lospath. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce that name, so I may be saying it wrong. Now, Lospath was a very different character than Celestine. Of course, he was undoubtedly filled with the hatred and righteousness against the forces of chaos. However, he certainly didn't seem to have quite the same care for the people who fought beside him, well, to say the least. And I really do recommend reading the Skulls of Salandraxis short story, as well as the follow-up Court of Daemons, to see and judge for yourself. Within the carnage of battle, Kharn and Lospath would inevitably come up against each other, and the saint would pour into battle against Kharn with an absolute fury, and truly would give Kharn a hard time in the process, delivering several punishing blows, and even eviscerating several hounds of Abaddon throughout the duel as well. Lospath was an absolute powerhouse of a warrior, and I'd absolutely love to see this saint make another appearance in a more well-known mainline novel, because he's an absolute warrior, as well as a very intriguing character. Whereas Celestine would always have had one eye on the wider battle, lending whatever aid to her fellow soldiers she could, Lospath in comparison is absolutely consumed in his fury, almost a righteous mirror to Kharn's darkness. He shoots a Sister of Battle, attempting to aid him against Kharn, without what appears to be any consideration or regret whatsoever. Now, I want to make it clear the Saint's aim was at Kharn, and he simply missed. But he doesn't even blink an eye at all, and it actually gives us the line, he clearly did not care who he killed in pursuit of his prey. Honestly, who wouldn't want to see more of this guy making an appearance? What a contrast to that of the compassionate Celestine he is. I really do hope we get to see this guy again, and we know the Emperor's Saints can be reborn. At least that's the case for Celestine, so it's certainly possible. And it certainly raises some questions for me regarding the Emperor's Saints, which I think maybe we'll discuss later in the week, because I'm now very curious as to how Lozpath can be so different to Celestine. However, of course, Kharn eventually achieves the victory, decapitating the Saint. One more skull for the throne. After continuing his butchery through the Imperial forces, Kharn ultimately becomes surrounded. However, not by Imperial forces, instead by 12 Black Legion flying transports, all landing around him in a circle, with a lone Thunderhawk remaining hovering above, its weapons trained directly at him. The transports open and out pours countless Black Legion Marines. We're talking in their hundreds. And they are followed by a dozen Terminators, again weapons trained directly at Kharn. When it comes to entrances in the 40k universe, I think we have to say the Despoiler takes some beating. This man knows how to make an impact, and outstrode the War Master himself. Now what a scene this is. An absolutely annihilated battlefield. Ruins of shattered and destroyed ecclesiarchy buildings everywhere. The battle still raging across the world. And in the middle of all of it stands Kharn the Betrayer, completely alone, surrounded by 12 Black Legion transports, hundreds of Black Legion Marines, Abaddon's Terminator Elite, a Thunderhawk aiming directly at him, and the Despoiler, the unopposed War Master of Chaos, wielding the infamous sword Drachnien, the Talon of Horus. And Kharn doesn't even blink. I mean, come on. This is why the 40k universe just can't be beat. This is why we love the Grim Dark. What an absolutely awesome image that is. It gives you chills, it really does. I cannot wait to start my World Eaters force, I really can't. But I digress. Here, we get an interaction between two of the most legendary names out there. So, the Chosen of Khorne finally stands before me. Abaddon twisted the title into a thrust of contempt. Kharn snarled an oath below his breath. It would be best for you to remember why I am named so, War Master. The Red Path has led me here. I have come at the will of the Bloodfather, not your request. Kharn was pleased to see the anger rise in Abaddon's face. Taking a step forward, the War Master levelled his demon sword at Kharn's head. And it would be best for you to remember that I too have the favour of Khorne. Abaddon advanced closer. Kharn shifted his grip on Gorechild. The Terminators brought their weapons to readiness in a flash of metal. I have the blessings of all the gods. The powers I command are beyond your comprehension. Now, finally, he understood why the Red Path had brought him to this place. All of the skulls he had taken on the Red Path up to this point, even the living saints, had been nothing but a precursor to this moment. Whether you have the blessings of all the demons in the warp or not, the Blood God commands a great trophy. I shall not bend my knee to you, Abaddon. I shall not serve. Just what a moment this is. I sincerely doubt Abaddon expected Kharn to simply bend the knee in servitude here, but he does almost seem to be angered when he doesn't get it. Kharn noticing the anger crossing Abaddon's face. And it's quite interesting the counter Abaddon brings to bear here. It would be best for you to remember that I too have the favour of Khorne. As much of a warrior Abaddon is, undoubtedly in that argument for greatest legionary, you do have to wonder if he's saying that as a "don't make me do this" kind of warning, or is there just part of the War Master who doesn't want to fight Kharn? Abaddon is clearly not lying when he brings up being the chosen of all the gods, but it is quite interesting to compare that to the Abaddon we see within the current Arcs of Omen narrative, especially within his aptly named first chapter, Abaddon. The Abaddon there was very much clear on how he wants to achieve his victory without the aid of the gods, how he refuses to become their pawn. Here, by comparison, Abaddon's almost playing it off that Kharn shouldn't even try him because of the gods. Again, Abaddon's not lying about that, but it's quite an interesting comparison to compare it to Abaddon's true inner thoughts regarding the gods of chaos, and how he equally relies on their backing and gifts here, because let's be honest, there wouldn't be much else holding Kharn back. And even that would be a bit of a surprise if he listened to it anyway. Perhaps the best gift or skill that Abaddon possesses, one that he's most certainly possessed since his ascension to War Master, is his ability to remain focused on the larger picture, the true goal, the long war. And despite this tense standoff, Abaddon matter-of-factly informs Kharn that he will do as instructed, that Kharn is to serve him, because Abaddon wills it, and so does Khorne. Now if Abaddon was hoping invoking the Blood God's name was somehow going to make Kharn simply bow down and listen, well, that was a pretty big miscalculation, because regardless of him being the War Master, regardless of being surrounded by the Black Legion, Kharn immediately becomes fired with rage at Abaddon's claims of knowing Khorne's will. And so the fight is on. I guess as the War Master, maybe people would expect Abaddon to come out the victor. Aside from the god's backing, he's got his Terminator armor, Drachnien, the Talon of Horus, and the situation here is obviously heavily stacked in his favour. To his credit, he begins this fight by parrying Kharn's assault, before smashing the betrayer straight in the side of his helm with the flat of his sword. And here Kharn recovers, immediately expecting to take on Abaddon's bodyguard. However, they all simply step back. So this shows a great deal of confidence from the War Master, keeping this clash of champions as an honourable duel, or at least a dark mirror of that. And again, to be fair to Abaddon, that's a self-confidence he has absolutely earned over the years. Regardless of the situation, this is the man who ended Sigismund. That is no mean feat. And if you've ever read any of the Black Legion series, you wouldn't be surprised by the actions of Abaddon here. Despite him being a traitor, he does very much have his own code of honor. However, despite all of that, can you ever truly count out the Chosen of Khorne? Kharn is the embodiment of war and slaughter. He's simply going to just keep on coming no matter what. And even within that red mist of fury, there still remains that trace of the calculated warrior he once was. And as Abaddon seeks to press his advantage, Kharn, casually throwing an axe behind him to take out a Black Legionary or two, then counters Abaddon's attack, faking a blow for the War Master's head before plunging Gorechild straight down into Abaddon's knee. Any other foe would undoubtedly be hobbled and felled by such a wound, but Abaddon pretty much tanks it, not even going to ground, taking barely one step backwards. And the fight between the two continues, picking up in its momentum and fury. Abaddon, in a ridiculous display of strength, fully throws Kharn over the surrounding guard, crashing into the transports beyond. And Kharn just continues to come back at him relentlessly, the thirst for blood screaming within, all the while trying to exploit the wound in Abaddon's leg. Ultimately, Abaddon would land a wound to Kharn's chest with Draknien, and the two would become locked in a contest of strength, each legendary figure pushing against the other. And this is the moment I specifically wanted to discuss today, as these two behemoths struggled against each other, a storm of fire begins to erupt from everywhere, absolutely decimating Abaddon's awaiting guard. From these erupting flames, demons of Khorne begin to emerge, hundreds of bloodletters taking the place of the once waiting Black Legion. They in turn encircle the dueling champions. And finally, a bloodthirster itself thunders down into the space between Kharn and Abaddon. And surprisingly, at least for me here, the bloodthirster demands the fight stop, telling both of the disgruntled warriors to hear the words of Khorne. And this is where things get particularly interesting, because Abaddon brings up the promises the pantheon of the gods made to him, demanding Khorne honours it. The pantheon has promised me the service of Khorne's chosen. I demand the god of brass and bone honour the pact he struck with his brothers. I demand Kharn's oath for the coming war. Now just listen to Abaddon's words there. The pantheon has promised me. That's a lot of face value and faith that Abaddon's placing into a promise of chaos. Surrounded entirely by the blood god's chosen, he even has the gall to demand the blood god honours it. I mean, let's give it to Abaddon here. He's outright making a demand to Khorne himself. Not just once, but twice. Demanding Khorne honours the pact, and demanding the service of Kharn. It's moments like that that really make you respect Abaddon all the more. This guy's got balls of solid rock. It's also an interesting comparison to Horus the War Master. Whereas Horus was undoubtedly more powerful, Abaddon certainly follows in his father's footsteps in the confidence regard. As we know, Horus entered into the warp itself to confront the ruinous powers. How far Abaddon has actually gone in this regard, we don't truly know. Yet it's clear here from his words, he's secured the promises of the Pantheon themselves somehow. And he's even putting a surprising amount of faith in them as well. Now Kharn of course objects to this, simply stating he's followed the red path as commanded, and now he will take Abaddon's skull. And here we get a remarkable revelation, something I was truly surprised to see, maybe even the truth of who the truly chosen of Khorne really is. From the words of the Bloodthirster, the Despoiler's skull is not for you to take. The Blood God forbids it. The Bloodthirster, in no uncertain terms, delivered Khorne's answer. Kharn, the chosen of Khorne, the warrior who would seek skulls for the throne anywhere and everywhere across the galaxy, is forbidden from claiming Abaddon's skull. And let's make no bones about it, this isn't Kharn just being told, look, I'd prefer it if you didn't. This is Kharn being told, this is not happening. There's literally a legion of the Blood God's warriors there to ensure this message sinks in, that this duel finishes. You know, we can look at this in many different ways, but it's hard to argue Abaddon isn't clearly being placed above Khorne's so-called champion here. And Kharn honestly probably has a bit of a revelation of that himself, as he is absolutely stunned by this proclamation. Most likely one of the rare few times since his fall that he is completely and utterly taken aback, with Abaddon simply mocking him with "I told you so, I have all the gods' favour." And well, he clearly does. Khorne outright forbidding his own champion from claiming his skull. Which again, is something I never thought I'd see. Never in a million years did I expect to ever see Khorne not want to see skulls claimed for the throne. The mightier the champion, the better. But not here. Here it's laid bare. Abaddon does have the favour of Khorne, even over Kharn the Betrayer. In many ways it's a surprising testament to Khorne's hatred of the Emperor, I guess. How truly unified the threat of the Emperor can make the gods of chaos. Their ultimate desire to see the Imperium of mankind fall. Horus was their first tool to try and make that happen, and now it's Abaddon. Though Abaddon remains steadfast in his intent to not meet the same fate as his Primarch father. Still, I really am quite taken aback by Khorne's enforcement of this pact. The Great Game is such a fickle thing. The gods constantly betray one another on the cusp of victory. It's truly surprising to see Khorne utter such enforcement here. Now the Bloodthirster attempts to placate Kharn after this, by offering words of Khorne being pleased with the skulls you have claimed. But honestly for me, the damage would be done. I'd be hard pressed to not see this as an outright betrayal. Kharn forbidden from doing the one thing he is supposed to do, claiming the skulls of the biggest and best champions out there. But I guess in its way this is a perfect symbol for the tragedy of service to the dark gods. Your soul is theirs no matter what. You are enslaved. Kharn is no different now than his demon Primarch, enslaved to the will of Khorne for eternity. For while Kharn may not be a demon, he's come back from death enough now to clearly not quite be mortal either. He's sold his soul to the Blood God, and now he must pay the price, even when it means his own god favours another over him. And if there was any doubt what those demons of Khorne were actually sent here to do, they stand and wait and watch until Kharn ultimately relents. Kharn may have the title of Chosen of Khorne, but it's clear who truly has the Blood God's favour. But as always everyone, what do you think? Were you surprised to see Khorne denying Kharn the chance to face Abaddon? Are you surprised that Khorne would value a promise to the War Master over his own champion? Is Abaddon right to place such faith in the promises and oaths of the ruinous powers? Or are they just as likely to betray him as any other? If the two champions were truly allowed to go toe-to-toe, who do you think would come away with the victory? With both landing wounds on each other here, it's certainly clear to be a pretty even contest. As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.